GitHub is a version control system where anyone can host large files or projects for free or very cheap. GitHub is used to track the different changes or versions of files or folders. The storage space or directory where we store a project is called a repository, or repo for short. Programmers mainly use GitHub to store their projects and collaborate with other programmers, but you can store any kind of file on GitHub and have access to it anywhere in the world. In this video, we'll be covering the main uses of GitHub, like initializing and pushing to, and pulling from repositories in GitHub. The first thing that we have to do to use GitHub is install Git. We can do this by going to git-scm.com/download. While installing Git, make sure to keep all of the default settings. After downloading and installing Git, we can test if the installation was successful by right-clicking anywhere in the File Explorer and then clicking Git Bash. If a screen like this pops up, then the installation was successful. Now, before we do anything in the Git Bash, we have to go to github.com. After creating your account, just click the green button called New to create a new repository. Then we can fill in the repository name and keep the repository public. We'll keep the other options empty because this is a pretty basic repository. Next, we'll click Create Repository. Now, before using this repository, we have to sign into GitHub in the Git Bash. To do that, we have to type git config -- global user.name and then in double quotes our GitHub username. Then after clicking enter, we type git config -- global user.email and then in double quotes the email you used to sign up for GitHub. I'll leave the commands in the description so you can copy them and paste them in the Git Bash. Just note that to paste in the Git Bash, you have to either click Ctrl and Insert or right click and then click Paste. Next, we type git config -- global -- list to make sure that all the data we typed is saved. Just click enter and look over the data to make sure that what you typed has been saved. Now if we go back into our GitHub repository page, we can see a few commands that we can put into the Git Bash to get started using our repository. The first command says git init. This will create an empty Git repository in the folder the Git Bash was opened. If we copy and paste that into the Git Bash and run it, we can see a folder named .git was created. We will skip the next few commands because we don't need them. The next command says Git Remote Add origin and then the URL of our Git repository. This command will connect our local folder with the online repository. Now if we run this command, nothing much happens in the File Explorer because our repository is still brand new and we haven't added anything to it yet. We can check the repository on github.com too. If we refresh the page, we can see that nothing happens because we haven't added anything to the repository yet. To do that, we have to modify the folder that the repository is in. The easiest way to do that is to create a file. I'll just create a text file and then write some text in it. Whenever we make changes to the repository on our local machine, they don't automatically change in the remote repository. The area that we make changes on locally is called the working area. To get our files on GitHub, we have to put them in the staging area first. To do that, in Git Bash, we have to type git add dot. Git add will put whatever follows into the staging area. Because we typed dot, that means it'll put all of the files in the folder into the staging area. But if we wanted to, we could just type every individual file's name after the git add. After pressing enter, we now have to commit our changes. To commit changes means to save them on our local repository. To do that, we have to type git commit -m and then the name of the commit in double quotes. The name of your commit should usually be as short as possible. That summarizes what you did. I generally try to keep mine 3 words or less. I'll type created text file and then click enter. Now that we've saved the commit to our local repository, there's only one step left. We have to push all of our changes to the remote repository. To do this, all we have to do is type git push -u origin master. Then click enter. We type this to push all of the committed changes to the remote repository on github.com. Now if we go back to our repository page, we can see the text file we pushed. Next to the name, we can also see the commit message that we wrote. Now, if you are using a GitHub repository with multiple contributors, you could pull any changes that other people push by just typing git pull in the Git Bash. My name is Efrem Adunya. Thank you for watching. This has been a crash course on Git and GitHub.